Hey, you guys, this is Courtney Camaro. I'm outside of Muhammad Ali's real original home. We're in Chicago, and I wanted to shout out Al's Botanics and Herbs. Man, when I tell you, I am one of those people that has insomnia. I can't sleep. I can't focus on some days because I'm so sleep deprived, and this has helped. This is one of the mixtures he has that helps with sleep.
So, uh, apparently, there's been another launch, another airstrikes, inside Iran. I wasn't gonna say anything about it today because I just was just recovering from the weekend and just wasn't really primed to talk about it. But yeah, they decided to you know go at Iran on the weekend. Um, Here's the thing, right? And this is what this is why I went live because it's like it's the reality is like most people got to go to work tomorrow, okay? And the people that's going to work tomorrow, about I would say 35% of individuals that is going to work tomorrow is living check to check. And if you're living check to check, right? You already you're already short. You're gonna be short on some bills. I've done that before. I lived that life before, so I know you being check to check means you just basically it's not just like check to check is not just you live in check to check and all your bills are paid and you just kind of like in a cycle where you don't really have that much saved. You don't have anything to save. You got to put all your money in your bills. That's not how that goes. For most people, living check to check, basically working and then basically all your money going towards, basically expenses and you don't have little or nothing left over. That means that you're basically able to pay your probably your rent. You might struggle with your rent or your mortgage or car payments, insurance, your utilities you got to deal with, on a separate paycheck. Like you're having to consider a lot of things. Like and don't have a health scare or your children have a health scare or anything like that, like you're cooked at that point, right? Like you're coming up short on some things. Like it's a lot of things that you got to think about to come up with some money to pay or come up with a plan to pay that because you're only able to just really pay like your basically current bills that are basically have to do with your bare necessities, food, clothing, shelter, transportation. Like your past due bills, you're cooked. You ain't got no money to pay hardly anything to pay your past due bills because past due bills are already past due. And unless they cutting some stuff off that you need, you're not paying it. I mean, I understand how that goes. Like, and that's 34. I'd say that's about 35% of Americans. And I ain't talking about no, just not racial. Just because I'm African American or whatever, it doesn't mean I'm just talking about African Americans. I'm talking about Americans, everybody. It's living, look, there's about 35% of all Americans that are living check to check. If they don't go to work, they are cooked. They already cooked and they work. So it's like you sending, $1 million missiles, multi-million-dollar missiles, striking a bunch of other poor people in another country. It's not gonna help. You know what I'm saying? It's just, the thing is like, okay, it's not everything I like about this dude or whatever. I'm not a Trumper. Like it's some things that I like about Trump. It's some things that I liked about Joe Biden. But I mean, obviously, it's a problem. Where I could say there's a problem is, yeah, I'm definitely part of. I was kind of like defending the boomers to a certain extent, but the boomers don't give no fucks. They just don't care. They're like this most selfish generation that has ever probably lived. I mean, it's just like, yeah, man, they're the ones that's talking shit. They want this to go, the boomers decided this shit. The elite boomers, decided this is what we're gonna do. Now, the roads and the infrastructure is crumbling, people losing jobs, people unemployed, people living check to check. Oh yeah, we're just gonna start a bunch of wars. Yeah, yeah, they'll do it. They'll solve. Americans will make them proud with that. That no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. At the end of the day, oh yeah, you bombed Iran. Gotta go to work Monday. Gotta go to work. That didn't solve shit. Didn't solve nothing. Same problems. I mean, if you got money in oil or energy, it's gonna skyrocket. It's gonna probably skyrocket tomorrow. But if you ain't got no money in it, ain't like they say, whoop de doo, whoop de doo. You live in check to check. You ain't got no money to put no money in no stock market. Whoop de doo. You ain't gonna get no money off of it. So it's like I just gotta state the obvious, the fucking obvious, where it's like, I'm thinking about this. I'm sitting here, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this shit is so stupid, because it's like I could see if America was balling out of control, the average American, you know, we just balling, like we like living like motherfucking, a citizen from UAE. Like we getting $100 dividend checks, and we motherfucking goddamn it picking whatever car we want out of our driveway. You know, we living in nice luxurious housing, and we just balling, right? I could see, all right, you need to bomb Iran. Okay, all right, cool, cool, cool. Oh yeah, you need to bomb them. All right, I understand. Because we balling, right? Man, motherfuckers living in cars. Man, this shit is like Wally's world, man. This shit is crazy. The stuff that's going on now is going at so much of a rapid speed. People can't even keep up with this shit. Like, I mean, like what's going on now, right? This is crazy, right? So RVs, there's like a RV apocalypse. Okay. Not only do you have a car apocalypse, you got an RV apocalypse. People like basically RVs, basically those, basically motor homes that you see people doing road trips, and they, they have some bikes on the back of it. They might be, um, they might have like a tow package where they, had a car connected to it or something like that. Those RVs are selling at like deep discounts, because basically it's a demographic change. Basically, okay, here's the thing, right? So every demographics are important, especially in business. But I would say demographics are important regardless, but not even so much demographics, more or less looking at generations. Okay, like but baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Z's, um and the next generation alpha is alpha, right? So like basically each generation is just not, they not feeling like they're not gonna feel everything. They're not gonna want to do everything that the previous generation did. Like for example, now liquor companies about to get slammed. They already getting slammed. Clubs are closing. Bars are gonna be closing. You know why? Because younger millennials and Gen Zs don't drink. They don't want to drink. They're not interested in drinking like that. And then they're not really meeting women at the club and everything like that. They're not some of them are having problems with, kind of dealing with women and stuff or finding women to date and all of that. So like they not going to bars and clubs like we used to, like the Gen Xers and the younger boomers. They was in the club in the 90s, the 2000s. The Z's are not interested in going to bars and clubs and drinking. They're not interested in that. They into different things. They more into probably most likely video games, and other things that they're interested in. They're not drinking like that. The boomers are the ones that was RVing across the country, everything like that. They get old. They're not able to do no cross country RVing. And then the silent generation before them was doing RVing. So what you have now is you have a twofold, you have a kind of a situation where the boomers are getting older, so they're not RVing like that. And the Gen Xers, not all of them are RVing. They're not interested in RVing. The millennials ain't got no time to RV, and the Gen Z ain't got no time to RV, and they're not interested in RVing. So this industry is coming into a crossroads. But here's the thing: here's the silver lining that's kind of saving the RVs. They still have a problem with selling RVs because they have a glutton of RVs, so they have to sell them at deep discounts. What's kind of saving the RV industry is the housing market. Because the housing market is still so high, people are actually, this is some shit like I'm as ghetto as I am, as at times I'm giving you financial news that you probably didn't know. Okay. The thing is that what you didn't know is people are actually using RVs not to drive across the country. They're using RVs for a substitute for housing. And is another thing, and this is what, like I said, what you don't know. The there's RV parks, okay? And where these RV parks are like basically parks where you can park your RV, right? And they, might have, certain things that are catered to that. And it's a cost to these RVs parks, right? And these RV parks all across the country, they have a waiting list. And they never did. They never had a waiting list. And now they have a waiting list because you know why? Because people are living in RV parks. It's a safe place to, park your RV. They have like, places where you can get water and they got different accessories and stuff like that, right? So people are living in RV parks. It's so much so that they have a waiting list. So that's kind of, it's not saving the RV industry. They still have to sell the RVs at a steep discount. But and then also another thing is the RV sellers, basically sell RVs globally. The tariffs are kind of ruining global sales. So they're not able to sell these RVs overseas like that. So basically production has to drop. So they're gonna start basically not producing that many RVs, so that might lead to layoffs and stuff like that. So, this is just one of those things where it's just a, generational change generational shift that people just they didn't really think of. The boomers is just not going to live forever, but and then they're not going to be able to partake in certain activities forever either. So society has to adjust to that. But the thing is, it's like, yeah, I mean, going back to this whole war thing, the whole Iran and Israel bombing thing, yeah, it's not like everybody in America's balling out of control and we like, oh, okay, yeah, we stand by, the actions of our president. No, motherfuckers got to go to work tomorrow. They're barely able to get by. The people outside of the people living check to check, they still have to work. It's housing. People have housing insecurities. Okay, the amount of people that have housing insecurities is a lot of people. A lot of people, right? People are facing evictions, and foreclosures are rising all across the United States. Foreclosures are on the rise. Like, people don't, like, if you're not like in tune financially, you wouldn't know this. You would think, oh, everything is everything. No, foreclosures are on the rise. I've been saying that for like a year now. It is progressed. It has progressed. Like, people are literally losing their homes uh through foreclosures. And here's another thing, right? The business community has not improved. Like, business is not improved in America. No. Remember those live, if you've been really rocking with me for a while, like, remember the live streams I did on, like, in the COVID times, like 2020, where I was talking about the commercial real estate is, basically bombing out. It still hasn't progressed. Like, literally, like in Chicago, um, you could you could buy a skyscraper, like a small building in a downtown area that was like, it could have been $600 million. You can buy that building now for like $45 million. I kid you not. The reason being is people are basically like corporate downsized. Once 2020 happened, corporate America like finally understood that they can actually downsize and still be, profitable and still function. So what they did was they figured out a way to basically turn their workforce into more remote. Basically, and being remote, you don't need to be in an office, so that cut office spaces by like substantially. Especially if you wanted certain candidates, basically hybrid options and remote options made it to where it was like a benefit. So like it's like, if you got a coder or anybody that is let's just say a highly skilled employee, if you had the option to work remote or hybrid, they gonna take your job versus the other company that doesn't offer that. They're gonna lose that candidate. They're gonna have issues with filling that HR slot. So that's what happened. And then from that, buildings that had offices that people went to work, they were no longer needed. And that has not changed. Like, this is the aftermath. Like, basically they put a band-aid on COVID. Everything that happened post pre-COVID, to be honest, really to be honest, they really put a band-aid on the financial crisis in 2008. They just kind of put a cast on it. They didn't really fix much anything. They just kind of pumped a bunch of money into the economy to basically stave it off from destruction. That's really like they just put it. They did the same thing in COVID or during the coronavirus. They put a band-aid. They pumped a bunch of money in the economy to save people from destruction. At least financial destruction. And it's like you got to understand. I understand governments can't do that. That would be socialism to say, okay, well, because basically that's the only thing that's been kind of saving the American people, really, to be honest, because people are just really down bad like that. Like they really do need some Qatari type socialism to where they're getting a check every month or every quarter or something like that, because Qatar, UAE, a couple other Gulf countries, in case you didn't know, they actually get revenue from the oil reserves. So, like the oil reserves, they making trillions of dollars off of oil. They give the citizens a check from those revenue streams. So, like literally, that is socialism. And I guarantee you, the UAE residents, the Qatarian residents, they don't, they're not complaining about it either. But in essence, the United, like the average citizen, they do need socialism to basically, they need like they really do need a check from the government to kind of like help them out, and I'm not talking about a tax refund. like they they kind of just need help because it's just so bad. Like I'm just keeping it real. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm just calling it how it is. I'm calling balls and strikes. Like they really do need like some type of like surplus. Like you look at what happened in 2020 during the lockdown, the COVID-19 lockdown. People were getting, long-term unemployment and getting PPP loans and all of those things. Like that literally kind of helped a lot of people. A lot of people did commit fraud and then they had to deal with the consequences of that. But the thing is like that surplus of money and funds in the economy into the average person, American household did help a lot of people because, it's just people just kind of down bad like that, unfortunately, and it hasn't changed. Like people kind of like they kind of still need like a leg up type of thing. And um, unfortunately, this is just the society that we live in because the unequitable wealth distribution that we have in this country. Like, okay, don't get me wrong. You can come up in this country. Like you can. Like if you do certain steps, like myself or anybody else, like I haven't even the thing like following me as a blueprint. Like, I mean, I didn't do everything the way it should have been done, but it's a way you can pull, like you can, enrich yourself in this country. Don't I'm not saying that you can't do that, but the average person doesn't know how to do that. Average person don't know how to invest. They don't know how to conduct business or have a business operation. They don't know how to do that. All they know how to do is just work, and maybe they even struggle with that. Like they don't know anything about investing and running a business or anything like that. They just know how to work. They know how to get to work on time and go to work. Like that's most people. And um the thing is that unfortunately, the economy is as such where you just have so many people stuck in, it's kind of like being stuck in a hamster wheel to where they have to continuously get on this hamster wheel to keep everything going. You know, they had to go to work, they got to keep going to work, and they got to, and then a lot, again, 35% of people getting on this hamster wheel, they don't have enough to cover everything. They're living check to check. They're barely getting by. So this is how, and I didn't say anything about race. I'll just say in the black community, it's not better. It's it's definitely not better, right? It's probably the worst, right? Out of everyone. So, but the thing is, like, everybody is included in this. That 35%, that's a flat rate. Like, that's everyone. It's not just black people living check to check, it's white people's, everyone is included in that 35% of check that people are living check to check. And it's like I said, it's not like we balling out of control. It's like, yeah, war. Like, motherfuckers has got a backyard with a swimming pool, a jacuzzi, and a lavish house with at least one or two cars. Like, this motherfuckers ain't living like that. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers is out here struggling. People on a fucking bus. Right, man, in Chicago, it's so fucked up, right? It's probably like this in New York too. Homeless people ride the train. It's a movie called Snowpiercer. If you really into sci-fi and apocalypto type films like I do, you've watched the Snowpiercer. And basically, in short, if you have not watched a Snowpiercer, need to watch it. But the general synopsis of Snowpiercer is you basically have a class system on a train that is basically, it's the end of the world, and this is the last of civilization, and they're on this train, going through, wherever, the world is taking them. And it's like, in Chicago, homeless people, there is an option for them to just ride the train all night, because the CTA, which is the Chicago Transit Authority, their operations are 24 hours. In the suburbs, me and when I used to live in the suburbs, one of the older guys, he was like, because the suburbs, their transit system cuts off at a particular time. Like, I think the pace, because in the entire Chicagoland area, you got two types of public transportation. You got the CTA, which is Chicago Transit Authority, and then you got basically Pace, which is basically all of the suburban towns and cities and stuff like that. So Pace, the uh Pace system stops, and it's mainly buses. And then you also have Metro. Metro is like basically, like, it goes throughout the all of the Chicagoland area. As far as, like, north is like close to Wisconsin border, going as far south as, like, almost near Kankakee. Uh but not as far as near Kankakee, but like somewhere near. But basically it goes far south to damn, I forgot this name of that suburb, but it's near Frankfurt. It's near Frankfurt. But and then it goes as far west as, like, way past Joliet, or I think Joliet. So, like, basically, both of those systems have a cutoff time. And mainly, like, Pace, its cutoff time is, I think, like around 10 or 11 o'clock. And you can kind of tell why that is, if you think about it, right? You don't really have to think too hard to why that cutoff time is the way it is, because, like, my one of my older guy used to hang out, and he said, like, man, they would come if it was 24 hours. basically they'll be robbing everybody, blind, because basically people from Chicago, they'll just be, using the transportation system, go rob all the people in the suburbs, and then just go back and forth, to Chicago. And it's like, one of the things about that cutoff time, basically you could, all of the people that care about it, they can sleep comfortably knowing that the most harshest Pookie, and Ray Ray or whatever, is, unless he has a car, most of them have cars, or they'll steal a car, right? They don't have to worry about them getting on public transportation and coming in and causing a bunch of drama or problems or whatever, basically, as far as using public transportation. So, but that's that's how that works. But basically in Chicago, the transit system is 24/7. So they ride the trains all night. You know what I'm saying? Like, they be on the train, it's warm. But they gotta it's kind of like being on Snowpiercer. I mean, I shouldn't be laughing at this shit, but it's being on Snowpiercer because, okay, the train does stop, for periods of time, like maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, maybe even longer, if it's like, waiting for a time slot or, whatever, because it runs off time, like it's a, schedule, whatever. But the thing is like, you technically are riding this train in motion, while you're homeless on this train. It doesn't stop. It keeps going. It goes up, and then you get on the other train that goes back the other way. And it's like you on this proverbial snow piercer, you know, um, riding a train, man, because you homeless, the shelters, they fill up, and then you don't got nowhere to go. You just ride the train, or some of the most hardcore homeless people, they sleep in a tent or something, a sleeping bag or some shit. Like, but the thing is like, the whole point is, Americans is not, definitely not balling out of control. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of fucking problems for the average everyday citizen in America, to the point where, I mean, they looking at motherfucking bombs going over Iran, and you know motherfuckers going to start a war with Iran. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like they don't have any. They probably, most of the average person probably, definitely don't have any, like, they don't really care about it one way or the other, but they don't really, they're not supporting it, because it's like, they fucked up in the game. They're having financial problems and struggling. They having housing insecurity problems, and people losing, people also. I haven't looked at the repo reports, but I'll say this. I already know, as the, just what I know about finances in general, if you're having foreclosure filings skyrocket, it already comes along with repos, because if you can't pay for housing, you damn sure ain't paying for no car payment. It just goes with it. It's like the repos is the little small cousin of foreclosures. It shows, any economist knows the correlation between repos and basically foreclosures. And it ain't good. It's not good at all. It's a bad sign. So it's like, yeah, people are struggling with this, and it's like, man, you sending $1 million missiles to, bomb some, country, playing fucking Alexander the Great. And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, you know, starting more wildfires, it's not gonna fucking, change the fact that this country, man, is in financial fucking trouble. You know, and I know it'll be like, okay, you were really into Trump and you was happy that he won. Now you sound like one of those MAGA guys that was turning on. I mean, I sound how I want to sound. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the thing is like, I ain't gonna, it's what been about what 5 months or something like that. Like, how long it's been? um since he been in office, like about only like less than 4 months, I believe. I think about 4 months, or no, less than 4 months, about 3 months. And it's like, I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was gonna go right at the economy and start kicking ass, but apparently, that ain't what he on. It's like he's got a fucking kill list. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's crazy as hell. It's like diabolical. You know, it's like this motherfucker got a kill list or some shit. Like, it's like, damn, this motherfucking kill list. I mean, damn, that shit ain't gonna help motherfucking ball out of control, man. And make a whole bunch of money just because you got a kill list, man. Like, that shit ain't gonna put no dollar in somebody's pocket because you got a kill list. That you working on. Like, I mean, it's just, yeah, man. I don't know, man. This shit ain't good. you know, it's 3 months in, man. We got three more years and months to deal with this shit. Oh boy. I mean, I might have to go back to MEPS, in a minute. They're gonna need every able-bodied soldier and sailor to sign up, like, because I mean, you're not when you're dealing with Iran, man. It's like you dealing with basically, man, you dealing with like oh man, it's like two heads of this of the Islamic global caliphate, right? And it's like one of them is Saudi Arabia, the other one is Iran. And they're both it's both it's like a it two-headed snakes, and it's like, a viper pit basically. And you stirring up these vipers, what I'm saying, basically, in essence, and it's like it's just gonna bring a bunch of fucking problems, man. It's gonna be it's gonna bring future problems, that it's just like, it's like, for example, the whole Arab Spring. The reason why it's a bunch of people, a bunch of Arabs and Africans and all kinds of people in Europe and other parts of the world is because the whole Arab Spring, it was like a civil war, and all of these people had to flee these countries, and it's like they had to go somewhere. And it's like, I don't know if the, basically, I'll just say, the global elites, when they met on, starting this whole thing and this chaos, did they think what the blowback was going to actually be, or how impactful it's going to actually be. Because basically, it's like you made a problem that you wanted to start because of some type of benefit. You've actually made it. It's like you brought your. It's like you brought you went out and you let's just say you did rat control, right? You went out and exterminated some rats, right? And imagine you exterminated these rats and then they came back home to you to like they came back to your garden, in droves. Like they just took over your garden. Then they start going up in your house, and it's like it all started because you was going out on rat patrol, and then basically you let some rats come back home and follow you home. And it's just like it's just kind of I know this kind of very it's not really I don't mean this by any to be disrespectful or anything like that towards immigrants or whatever, but I'm just saying, I'm just stating something as far as an analogy, right? Basically you bringing back more problems than what you started with, and it's like, yeah, like that's gonna really really be impactful. Like that's you know they I don't know how many like immigrants that like basically um went into Europe, but it was millions. I mean, it has to be millions of people, and then they're still coming. I mean, then you got Africa has been unstable, for centuries. They going in there, so it's kind of like you have a new Europe that you think of or you saw in the 1900s. It's no longer that Europe anymore. The Europe that is you're going to see in the next 10 to 20 years is going to be like probably like how Europe was before um the Inquisition. It's like they reversing. Like it's like they're going back to like how Europe was before the Inquisition. Like basically when the Moors and it was in Spain and Portugal and Italy and Sicily and France. And it's like you I mean you meddling with them and their country governments and everything like that led you to an overall like worser problem than what you were trying to do. You were trying to probably make some money, manipulate some currency, get some cheaper goods and export it. And that was your overall goal. But you know, then now, the problem came home to you. You inherited that problem. You inherited the proletariat of the governments that you toppled. I mean, that might help you as far as population in the long run because the population is already shrinking. You know, um, it's not all women to blame, but when women start making money, and this is just, this is just from actual research and actual, facts. Okay, when women start making money, when they basically become industrial or they become industrialized to make lots of money or as much money as they possibly can, they automatically conserve children. They go into a mode of thought of I only need about one or two children, if that, right? Like they don't really have children like that unless, I mean, it's just unfortunate. I mean, it just is what it is. But women have more children the poorer they are, and that's just a fact. That's just, that's just actual data with facts and historical records. Like that's just how that is. Like, why that is. I mean, it's that's a topic for another conversation for another day to go, because you could just go deep. Like I could talk 2 or 3 hours just about that. Like why women break down why women, um poor women have more children than women that are working, or even elite women. Like, I mean, but the thing is that that is true. Like, that's what's going on. Like, most women work, and when they start working, the birth rate just it goes lower. That it's like they're concerned about other things than children. They're concerned about their business balance sheet, or the business that they work for's balance sheet, or their scope of work and opportunity to advance their career and all of that. I'm not concerned about kids. It's just not. You know, and even men, I don't know what the correlation, but I don't even think men really have children like that when they have when they work, as well. Like, as far as when they're working, like, they don't really, unless they have a woman that, like, basically is a live-in housewife. Like, kids are a challenge. Is got to find someone to watch the children and all that. I don't know the correlation between how men react to that, but the thing is this: it's very simple. When, okay, you have two people working, somebody else got to watch the children. Okay, kids got to go to daycare. Um, or if you're lucky, your mom's house, which was be their grandma. And that's how it goes. Like, so you're in a totally different mode than someone that's at home, and they can just pop out kids, and they can kind of chill at home and do their own thing and start, raising families and everything like that. It's a totally different mode. Like, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of weird, to a certain extent, like that, to the extent, like, how heavily, and this kind of goes into like brainwashing and people just, being group thinked, and you got to look up group think, like, um just being just programmed to be a certain way. And what I mean by that is, I always, like, I can understand, okay, when it comes to beauty, right? You know, like, okay, ugly women, all right, I get it, right? They might not be able to be housewives or whatever, but I don't even think it's that. It's not even related to any beauty, because I see beautiful women that are drop dead gorgeous, and I understand the value of women. Like, I definitely understand about an older man like myself. I understand the value of women, and I know for a fact what men will do. I've seen what men will do. I've been in the locker room. I've been, I have friends, and they have friends, and I know a lot of different people. Men will say things to me that they won't say around another woman. I know men. I know myself. Like, men will definitely be okay with a woman staying home. I mean, definitely will pay for everything. And I know they will. They're still, even a lot of men are even programmed to do that, and even financially capable of doing that. But women will not even take that offer. Most women, the average woman today, will not, um they don't want that lifestyle. One, because they'll make more money working. Two, they don't want to be bogged down with kids and just be a stay-at-home wife, and that's boring for them, and blah blah blah. And then thirdly, they don't want to listen to a man. Like, your job as a stay-at-home wife is your husband is your boss. They don't like that dynamic. Most modern women do not like that dynamic. They're running in fear from that dynamic. So the thing is like, even if like that's why I see some of the most finest women, even an average woman with a fat ass or some tits, or she can, suck a golf ball out of a fucking pond, like, duck lips or some shit. She will fucking, a dude would be happy to take care of her. But women are they're so programmed, it's so gone, they don't even know how to like that's why the whole pimping and hoeing thing comes in, right? And the pimp basically, he markets the woman to men because so a lot of women back in the day, I mean, not so much now, they didn't, they couldn't bridge the gap between them and another man. So it's like basically you women are still kind of similar to a sense where, because the father is not in the household, like the father was like the bridge between the husband and the daughter, which was the wife. So because the father basically got xed out of the house, basically women just don't know how to really market themselves to men, to be honest. Like I'm saying, in a sense of, they don't know how to get the max return from men, from like one man, and it's like they've decided to just get a bunch of men to give them some money, when it's like you could just find one guy, it's like, you know one man to take care of all of your needs, take care of everything, ride it out with that dude. Like, women they don't like, basically, a lot of them, they don't want that setup. I'll say most of them probably don't want that setup, but it is some women that are probably okay with that setup, but they don't know how to find the right guy that will be okay with that setup, or deal with them in that capacity. And for the few women that do want that type of lifestyle. But again, like, I be just like, it just be tripping me out, because as a man that is trying to become financially successful, so I can, kind of do my own thing, and I can exit the workforce and all of that. Like, it's tripped out to me, because I know it's basically women don't, okay, it's not that I want to get a rich woman and then she just take care of me, and then I just, I achieve my financial goals. That's just not how society works. I understand men can get money from women and everything like that. I understand that. But I'm just saying, like, typically, like, that is not how things work. That is just, that's not how even society works, right? As an aggregate, as a whole. So the thing is that women, they do have that outlet. It's like, it's kind of like, okay, it's like you playing a game of chess, right? And you see checkmate from your other opponent. You see checkmate. You see, damn, you just boom, boom, boom. I'm checkmated, right? And then the other side, they don't see the checkmate. So eventually you just wear them down and then you beat them. And it's like, why you ain't just move here and here and checkmate me? Like, and they, because they didn't see it. And it's like, it's kind of like, that's how I see women with a move that they don't even take. Whereas, like, okay, you got some dude that is your husband that basically, he goes out and work, deals with all of the, pain and anguish of working the job or whatever, working for the man, and then maybe y'all have like a fire strategy or something on the side when, you go home, y'all look over some stocks, or look over some charts, or look over some, different business opportunities. So, eventually you can, lateral over to business, or, investing and then y'all both can kind of join each other in some type of venture or whatever. But the thing is like it's a bunch of women again. They don't they don't even take the opportunity. They don't know how to bridge the gap to a man that will basically take care of them, and then they don't even know how to maintain that. They don't know how to keep their job. A lot of women, to be honest, the reason why they got to file divorce and the reason why so much divorce is because most of it, I would say, most of it to a certain extent is women just not wanting to respect their husband. I would say at the core of most of the divorces, if I had to interview the husband and I asked him, was your wife disrespecting you? I would say probably most of them would say yes. Yes, they were disrespecting me. They were very, very disrespectful. She even cheated on me or something like. So they're terrible at kind of dealing with men. So that's why they can't really. A lot of them can't really even do that, even if they wanted to, because they know they can't. For whatever reason, they can't respect their spouse, but they'll be forced to respect their boss though, but they can't do that to their spouse. And that particular person that's a slave. That's a slave. That basically the person that I'm describing is a female slave, a slave-minded female, you know. But all things aside, the economy is fucked up. Yeah. And um, it's like shit. What these global elite plans, man, you just that's what you're watching. You're watching the global elites make decisions on um global countries' assets and a game of power and dominion, play out. And I mean, I'm just watching. I'm not saying anything about that. I mean, I have my own thoughts as far as what's going on and all of that. I mean, basically a lot of what you see is um basically I see both, like, two slave masters fighting each other. You got the Arabians, the Persians, and then you have, the Europeans, uh fighting each other for global domination. That's basically what I'm watching. But at the end of the day, I'm also in America watching people living check to check, barely able to pay bills, fronting and shit, talking about, having people believe they, doing well, when they just basically paying car notes and paying for mortgages. You got all of that type of stuff going on, man. People ain't really doing good. The average person is really worried about the price of everything and real estate costs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, they're not concerned with some country that they probably couldn't even describe what the capital city is of the country. They only they probably if you man, name 5 cities in Iran, or you're gonna, I'm gonna shoot you. Well, just go ahead and get out the way. Go ahead and, you know, go ahead and get it out the way. I don't know one fucking city. Okay, you go do an interview tomorrow. I'll give you $100 to name 5 cities in Iran. You know, it don't matter. You could be $1,000. Name 5 cities in Iran. They wouldn't know that. They don't know nothing about no damn Iran, man. They know fucking what is that Disney cartoon Aladdin. The average person that has anything to do, they know about the average person in America. low IQ or otherwise. They know about Aladdin, and then they know oil, and they might know camels and deserts. That's about it, and it's like, yeah, it's just I don't know, man. I mean, it's like I'm still waiting on the economy to you know like it's like almost like the economy's at war, and it's like, okay, um shit, what's going on with the economy? Like, why can't we, you know, um you know, who is who's that war? Like, who are we who are we fighting for that war? Like economic war, like why the economy's so fucked up. Like, who is who's involved with that? You know, like how can we fight that one? So we can be balling out of control. Like, we can have 2.5 cars in the driveway, um, nice luxurious house. Like, you know what? Like in the 90s, black people started balling in the 90s. Okay. Like when I was like when I was a teenager, I started seeing black people making money. That was the first time in my life I started seeing black people just making a whole shit ton of money. I seen it. And it wasn't from no drugs and nothing like that. They was working, they was able to get mortgages and basically buy property, live wherever, they can afford. And that's what I saw in the 90s. I saw it. I saw a lot of black people fucking making money. I mean, I seen people get I was seeing people get rich, all black people. That's what I seen. And why that was, I mean, the 90s, you had the internet boom, the technology, the computer revolution starting, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of trade. Um, Bill Clinton was in office, I believe, during that time. Before him, uh, uh, George Bush Senior, and basically, it was a golden period, man. I mean, the '80s had good music, but the '80s was struggle. It was a lot of struggle in the '80s. I mean, at least for my family, like we struggled. We definitely. I mean, we was living in the fucking ghetto in the '80s. Like, um, yeah, it was man. It was like, it's like a jungle sometimes. It was like, it was like really, 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 really much of a struggle in the '80s. I remember that struggle. Like, I was about 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old. I seen the up and coming, things that my parents went through. And then, like, yeah, the 90s, shit started getting better. And that's not even just for my parents. Like, I'm talking about black people as a whole. Like, black people started motherfucking balling. Biggie and Bad Boy, and you know, Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes, like, what I'm saying? The shiny suits, and of course, Puffy was, evil, rotten bastard, right? That's our black Epstein, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is like, yeah, motherfuckers was balling, man. In the 90s, yes. Even I was balling. Like, nigga, I was even balling. I was, what I'm saying, making money, working, going to school. I mean, like, I was buying champagne every Friday. Like, that was my thing. Every Friday, I wanted to like buy some champagne. I mean, like, I don't even think I was, you know what? I wasn't even old enough to actually buy liquor, because that was technically when I was like 19. I was 18 and 19, but I was like 6'3". I mean, I was the same height I am now, but I would, yeah, I would go every Friday, like 19, this was 1999, 98, 90, yeah, about 99. I was only 19. I mean, like I would go buy some champagne. I mean, like the women were plentiful. I mean, they weren't no, I mean, these were like, basically Gen X women. The millennial women were like, they were still young. They were like in grade school. So like, this was all Gen X, probably maybe younger boomers. But I don't think I got with too many. I don't think I got I'd have to think about the women I don't think dealt with no boomer women. You know what I'm saying? Because like my mom was a boomer. Boomer is like a kind of a distance as far as age gap for me. So it was mostly Gen X women. And they were like, yeah, they were cool. The economy was great. It really wasn't no wars. It was like, okay, Bosnia was going on, and then the like Black Hawk Down, the Somalia conflict. Basically, it was Bosnia. That was kind of the only thing that was going on at that time. So it was technically kind of peaceful to a certain extent. It really wasn't too much going on that was crazy. And yeah, man, it was just people were working, making money. The music was, it was still had love songs. People had a reason to, sing love songs at that time. I mean, it was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun. People, were actually enjoying each other, and it just wasn't as crazy as things are now. But the whole point is, like, I've seen black people ball out of control. Okay. Now, are black people still balling? Yeah, some black people still balling. Don't get me wrong, but it ain't like what I see now. Like it's just it's a difference. Like it's like, yeah, it's expanding. There's a lot more black people that are, kind of solidified, and they spread apart and they spread all over the place. I do get that. But it's like the difference with what I saw in the 90s that is different now is, and it's a digression, I seen families balling. I seen like, you know what I'm saying? Like I seen husbands and wives balling. Like right now, it's women, single women bragging about a car. And they buy, they got a new car or whatever. They got a new house. They're by themselves. They're independently doing, whatever. Like I'm talking about what I saw in the 90s. I saw whole families balling, coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like paying a mortgage off. Like that's what I saw. Like now, motherfuckers is celebrating independent successes and shit. Like that's not no fucking like, okay, it's not no like progression. That's a digression. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a good thing, because you separation is never a good thing usually. I mean, in the sense of, you know um when you look at, okay, basically family, people are trying to, obviously the feminists, they want to reclassify family as a mother in in her family, that's her family, her kids, and that's no husband or no man is a part of the family. She just solely, that's her family and that's it. But the family is a husband and a wife and children, and then you have extended family and all of that, and you have that makes up all of a bunch of families make up a community. And community is a bunch of communities is a society. And it's like basically that's what the difference is. Like, and you got a lot of these women, they're entitled, and kind of like their heads are big. Social media made their heads so big that they want everyone to be a millionaire and all of this shit. They want you to pay them and all of this crap. And it's like, yeah, we ain't had to deal with that shit in the 90s. It was not going on. It wasn't no chick talking about pay me no. Nah. Wasn't all of this shit like you have now. And um, like I said, man, black people's making money. I mean, work was plentiful. The economy was fucking, man. It was working like a goddamn lawnmower. That you got tuned up. It was working, man. So you just had to, you know, prime that thing up a couple times and then pull the fucking, cord, and it will start. You go from one job, quit that, go to get another job. You be working somewhere else, and by the next weekend, you could quit your job Friday. You could be working somewhere else probably Monday morning. Like that's how it was. Like one time when I was in college, when I was going to school down in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. Man, I had three jobs at one time. I mean, I was working for some like standardized test facility, and then I was working at Meyer Foods, and I was doing work study. Like, man, man, man. It was just like it flowed. Like, look at the economy, like your blood vessel system. And when it's flowing. It's no stop gaps. Everything is smooth and it runs. And then if you got like problems with your blood vessel system, you have clogged arteries, you got clogs, you got things that it's just not, the blood is not flowing freely. It's not flowing properly. You know what I'm saying? There's some stoppages. That's how the economy is now. It's all kinds of clots, and it's all kinds of like arteries that's like clogged up. It's all kinds of problems and issues that, it's a bunch of like, it's a clogged system, and it's like, it just that's how it is. And that, like I said, I'm old enough to actually live in a time and remember a time where the economy was thriving as well. I wasn't a kid. I was an adult, young adult male, teenager, basically living it up, enjoying life. Man, I was by the time I was 19, I was down in University of Illinois, shit, doing like in campus parties. You know what I'm saying? Such a vibrant thing. Like, I mean, I was living it up. Like, I mean, I know what a smooth running economy is like. I had lived it. I'm not no young, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I actually understand it. I know what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? I lived it, Like some people was born in the, I guess, 60s or 70s or whatever, they knew what that time was like, whatever that was like. Some people probably older than me that was in the 80s, they probably say the 80s was rocking. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was a kid in the 80s. When I was a teenager in the 90s. So I remember the 90s. And it wasn't just because I was young. Like, that was how it was for everyone. Like, jobs were plentiful, the economy was flushed. I mean, it was a lot of pros going on in the economy at that time. And it's just never been the same since. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And now it's just all kinds of clots, tumors, um, plaque. It's just fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I remember how it was in the 90s. And you know what I'm saying? I lived it. I mean, I remember that shit. The air was crisp. Like, I mean, it was a beautiful fucking time. And it's not like I don't know what that's supposed to be like. I know I can. What I'm saying to you is I can I actually can feel a good economy in my actual soul, like because I experienced it, and I know when a bad economy versus a good economy based off of the fucking energy, the vibe, or whatever you want the young kids say now. Like I lived it. I know what a good economy is, not just by based off looking at figures and books and all of I fucking lived it. So I mean I know what it is versus what we have now is just it's all kinds of stuff going all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Just all everywhere. Just a complete clusterfuck. But I mean, you could make money. You can make you can actually, I believe it or not, in this economy or just the technology that we have now, just the technology. If you could tap into the technology, like a lot of the some of the people that code and stuff, they get into is kind of tripped out. They get into automated trading. They dabbling with it, which I was dabbling in the automated trading 10 years ago. I had an automated system that was paper trading, 10 years ago. Like, so the thing is that they're starting to get into it now because they got claw bots and all of this type of stuff. It's very interesting. And then if they trading crypto and all kinds of stuff. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it is if you can tap into, I would say definitely technology or different elements of business to where you could basically make some type of profit. You could do that easier now than you ever can be able to do it in any time. Yeah, but what people are doing is trying to make money off of traditional work from traditional jobs, and that's where the problem is. Like, some jobs just don't pay that well. Certain industries, sectors, they just don't pay that well. And you got an economy, that basically everything costs more than what they do, and it's a lot more costs involved, and it's very few jobs that pay a significant amount to where people can actually afford or even over afford certain things. And it's just that's where the disconnect is. And um yeah, it's it just, yeah, I don't know if it'll ever go back to that. I don't know. It just it was kind of a special time. It was definitely linked to the dot-com boom or the computer revolution. That was definitely linked to that because it was just a lot of stuff that was made, innovations that the invention of the computer and the internet. That was like inventing electricity or inventing phones and shit, like telephones. It just it's like kind of like a once in a lifetime type of um century type of invention that people, companies made a lot of money real fast off of that. And that revenue rolled into the economy, and it made a lot of money real fast. And then that rolled into other things as well. But yeah, I lived in a successful, vibrant economy, and a lot of times I forget that shit. I forget, like, damn, I actually remember what a good economy actually is. I actually lived it. Like, I was an adult, um, living good. My first apartment, my first ever apartment, I mean, my mom absolutely spoiled me. Like, I mean, I looked for what I wanted and she helped me pay for it. But like my first apartment, I was splitting a room with four people. This was in Urbana, Illinois, which was like basically right next to Champaign, which was the University of Illinois. And um that apartment was it had a gated, like it was like a gated community. You know, it had a outdoor volleyball court, tennis court, full length basketball court, and basketball rims on the side, pool area, a gaming area where you could play pool and foosball and different stuff like that. A theater room with surround sound, you know, basically just the whatever. This is like 1999, so whatever art of the technology they had, those man, that room was like going to the fucking theater and watching a movie. Like it was studio level quality, big ass TV with speakers and shit. Like um and then a computer hall across from it with computers. You can hop on there, get online, whatever you want to do your homework, whatever. If you don't have a computer, you can go there, right? So I say all of that to say, and then the apartment, I ain't even done. The apartment had basically washing machine, dryer, uh stove, refrigerator, and a dishwasher. Um, and you had your own bedroom and a bathroom connected to your room. And I got all of that for $350 a month in 1999. I mean, I got like an athlete discount because I said I was basically going to play on the team, and a couple of my buddies was they used to play on it was playing basketball. They had a scholarship or whatever, so I got a discount, like I don't know, like a $50 discount or something like that, $75. And it's like, yeah, like I literally, that would be today's prices, probably $1,300 a month. 1,300. Add 1,000 to it. So it's just it's a different world, different economy. Again, like this whole Iran thing, I definitely ain't. I'm not for you know worldwide, international, anything too much. Like if the country is fucked up, you know, if the country got a bunch of problems like it does, like that's where the war is. That's where the effort is. You know, there's always been bums on the train in Chicago. Okay. There's always, because bums are always going to be here, even if you have a good economy. Because the thing is like, okay, one of the things is people are on drugs, drugs, and you combine mental illness with like drug addiction, and you basically have it's mostly people. Well, you got some people that actually they're drug addicts, but they're functional. You got lawyers, doctors, police officers, judges that are drug addicts. You would never know that they're drug addicts. You wouldn't even think that they're drug addicts. They're able to function and be a drug addict. And you got some people that just can't function being drug addicts, and then they just, you see them on the street leaning over or scratching or talking to themselves, and then you combine mental illness with it, and then boom, there you go. You out there. Then you got people that's just dealing with financial problems, okay? And then they temporarily out there and they trying to survive or whatever. But a lot of the people that you see homeless are a combination of mentally ill and dealing with drug addiction. That's just how that is, it's been like that for a long time. So those people gonna always be there. But the thing is like outside of just how many people are homeless, that doesn't explain that, right? And like this argument is, I'm talking about Chicago, but when you go to like LA, it doesn't explain that. That theory doesn't kind of hold weight when you do the whole go to LA, um, or where maybe even Nevada. I don't know, like because you got way too many people living on the street. You got like you know a lot of like 100,000 people or more camping out on the street. That doesn't explain that. That's more that's more to deal with something else than that is basically high housing costs. They don't basically they're out competed in the housing market. So um that those things um are an indicator of the overall economy, of the overall problems in this country. And the thing is, it's like it's more, it's all kinds of wars in this country to deal with. Like it's damn, like it's all kinds of fights. It's just all kinds of fucking, you know, wars to tackle in America. Like, you know, but I guess, I mean, the whole thing is it's not, necessarily a poverty is they okay, they went okay, the Nixon administration, they went, did the whole war on poverty thing. Okay. Um Poverty is like, I think like what 10% of people, 10% of people in the country, or I think like 14% or something like that are in poverty. I have to look at my stats, but there's much less people that are in poverty now than was in the 1960s, but the overall poverty rate is increasing because people are having issues surviving in this economy. And yeah, that's an overall indication of this economy not being great, not being good. um it just is. And it's like, I'm not an economist, but I understand how the economy works. And the thing is like there's a lot of problems with this economy, and um I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is Donald Trump going to be able to fix this economy? And the verdict is still out. It's not looking too good. This it's definitely um room for speculation, because this shit has not changed from when Joe Biden was in office to now. It's not changed. Like, it's not like 4 months ago to now, motherfuckers just balling out of control comparatively. Like, it's like it's it's just it's really tripped out, man. It's insane. I mean, like, this shit is insane. If you really think about it, like, and people were dealing with, they were dealing with a stagnant, struggling economy. Okay, a bunch of people from across the border was coming over. Okay, yeah, you had you had that. You don't really kind of see that like that. You don't see a bunch of people, camping out from other countries, but I mean, okay, I mean, it's still the same fucking, miserable economy that Joe Biden definitely didn't help. You know, he personally helped me, and I'm definitely grateful for that. But um, the whole overall economy is still the same. It's still, it might be slightly better. I don't know, but not to the point where I mean, it's like, man, it's still a lot of problems, and going some other country. I just don't think that um and it's like, whether I think it or not, you got global elites making decisions, and to be honest, Donald Trump has to follow, you know, what his masters say. I mean, I'm to be perfectly honest. I mean, like, you know, he's got to follow what they say, what they all agree upon. They all got to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, you know, that's what really, if you really want to go there, if you want to get in the rabbit hole. So, but the thing is that, it's very interesting, man, to say the least. Like, how far is this gonna go? Like, is it gonna be a civil war against the elite? Like, is it going to, I mean, what is gonna go here? Like, I mean, is it gonna be like some sci-fi movie where the poors go against the elites? I mean, because that seems like where this shit's gonna probably go. Like, it's gonna be like fucking 19. Was it no? When did Maria Antoinette? I think that was like the 1700s, or I think that was the 1700s, where it was the French Revolution. like basically they basically that was part of the French Revolution was basically the have-nots going to war with the haves. Okay, and that was pretty much kind of what the French Revolution was about. Maria Antoinette, off with her head. She was having a cake party during the revolution. They stormed her castle. They eventually caught her and basically chopped her head off. And it's like, I mean, I'm just trying to think, because I mean, it's some people that can endure this, and they can. Um, not everybody can endure this, obviously, but it's like, where I'm trying to think where this shit is gonna go, and it's like, I can't. That's just the first obvious fucking conclusion that I can think of, because it's not like, it's this is eventually people are going to get tired, and they're gonna, I mean, they're already tired, and after tired, it just, things kind of get cray cray, and I mean, it's just, people gonna start looking at a particular, well, they're not looking at class groups. They're not really, like, the average person is not looking at class groups. They're looking at the government more, okay? Um and not really, it just kind of starts, kind of ends there for the most part, because I think most people, they think that, to a certain extent, that they one went away from being a millionaire or being rich or something, or they still think that they okay but they still, they're still seeing people, struggling and they don't like it. But like it's really, really bad. It's been bad for decades now. And I mean, again, most people, I would say most people can endure, but obviously people, they're not gonna, even though they endure, they're not gonna keep this shit going. They're gonna, like, what I'm saying, it's gonna have a progressive end to it one way or another. And it's just kind of like that's the only obvious conclusion that I can see, because this shit, it's not like, I mean, we know who the culprits are. We know who they are. Like, um, and we know kind of what they do, and they just gonna keep fucking up. They just gonna keep fucking up. Like, and I mean, it's just a never ending back and forth game. And it's just this economy is basically crumbling, because you got a lot of people that are greedy and um very, very, you know just stingy, I would even say, to a very much extent. And they don't really care about the overall future of everybody in the country. They're kind of like savages to a certain extent. And if we are just savages and barbarians, you know, I mean, then, what's the whole point? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's kind of how I look at it. Like, it just, if it's just about just, being a selfless, heartless savage, you know um what's the point? Just everybody just be savages, like Mad Max. But anyway, I've said my whole points, you know what I'm saying? I definitely know that, those that are in, the loop do watch me. I know I'm one of the watched. I'm not stupid. I'm not, I'm smart enough to understand, you know. Um and to a certain extent, it's tripped out. It's like imagine if, okay, me saying that, I'm people be like, oh, this nigga's crazy. It's another crazy manosphere dude or whatever. Um, let's say I'm not crazy, and that is so. The thing is like, damn, if you are watching me, why don't you send me about $100 million? God damn.